Tell me what you think about Innistrad Standard now that the format has kind of worked itself out a little bit.
The best thing I like about it is that I don't know that it has worked itself out yet. I think it's been out for almost 2 months, and we're seeing different decks at the top almost every week. Different colors, different strategies. It's green creatures, it's white little tokens, it's planeswalkers, control, red, blue-red. I'm very happy with the way that's playing out. Because usually at about this time, when there's been enough Star City Opens and Magic Online play, we're starting to see kind of a striation of stuff falling out. And the best deck makes itself known, and everyone's just reacting to that. But I think it's been mightily jumbled, and I think that's giving a lot of people who like different colors or different strategies or want to build their own deck some more hope than they've had in recent Standard seasons, that, you know, their deck might be good for a period of time and not just lose to the best deck every time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was this point where Wolf Run came out. Like, Wolf Run had its go in Nashville, and everyone was just like, oh god, you know, here it comes, this
right.
You know, suffocating deck that no one's
we all knew Primeval Titan was super good, and we thought we were going to say goodbye to that guy once Valakut went away, but now here he is again, and now we're doomed. But you know, the deck's pretty slow and ponderous, and there's plenty of ways to beat it, and a lot of, you know, whether it's speed or control, and a lot of decks have shown up that can do that, and we're seeing a cool rotation. I was talking to Pat Chapin just before his first round, and he said there's so many good decks right now that it's hard to, you know, get an edge or you know, metagame against the few that you think you're going to face, because you might face 8 different decks and you can't possibly prepare for that. I don't know that that's great for someone like him who's trying to solve things, but it's certainly great for people who like to, you know, go rogue or try out their own stuff.
Yeah, that's great. So a lot of people have been saying that, you know, there was a high power standard before, this is a low power standard. I think that's all relative, but I'm curious sort of what you feel in that regard for thinking the standard is this and the standard is that.
It is lower powered than some previous standards. I think what happened from Alara to Zendikar and then Zendikar to Scars was that we had knocked back the power a little bit in each of those blocks, which meant that the previous block was the dominant force in Standard. And I think with Scars and Innistrad, we finally have a point where, you know, we're happy with the power level of those blocks, and they're kind of the same. So therefore Innistrad can show up and make a big difference. Scars had a hard time competing with Zendikar when it first came out. Zendikar had a hard time competing with Alara when it first came out. But I think now we've hit a good equilibrium where the new cards make an impact, the old deck Tempered Steel, and some of the old decks are still good, but new decks can rise at the right pace. There have been higher powered Standard formats, and what that generally means is there's usually about 10 or 12 cards that are really overpowered. You know, cards you'll see played in Legacy, cards that are good and modern. And that just means your deck has to have one of those 12 cards in it, or multiples, or as many of those 12 cards that you can fit into it. And we don't have that when there aren't these, you know, completely ridiculous cryptic commands or bitter blossoms or, you know, bloodbraid elves. That the field is much more wide open. I mean, is that less powerful? Yeah, it might be, but it kind of doesn't matter. It's like, oh, you only have to play against other Standard decks. We're not making you play against a Standard deck from 2006 and see if you can win. You just have to play against other people using the same card pool as you. And I think the more balanced and wide open it is, the more fun it is for everybody.
Absolutely. So, tell me about the use of the ban list these days, or how do you feel about using the ban list, the sort of the proactive banning of cards that you know will be issues?
There's been a lot of discussion about using the ban list in all formats, including Standard. I think from the early days of Magic, that just banning cards was something seen as just a terrible, horrible thing. It was, like a mea culpa. It was destroyed faith in the market, that we're buying cards and we can't play them. But what we've seen is banning cards doesn't create a decrease in play of a format, engagement in a format, interest in a format. What does create that is not banning the cards. If there's a problem card, leaving it there for a long time is what causes people to disengage, what causes them to stop trying to build new decks. And that's, so we've seen where not banning cards actually does definitely hurt the amount of attendance and interest in formats, whereas banning cards, in some ways kind of reinvigorates the format. That doesn't mean we want to get on some kind of revolving door of are your cards playable or not? Wait and tune in next month and see which cards we're going to let you play with. But as I say, we shouldn't quite be as scared of pulling that trigger. I think people recognize while they don't want to waste money on cards they can't play, they'd rather have a format they enjoy when it comes right down to it. So with Modern, still not sure where the dust is going to settle. There haven't been a whole lot of tournaments run with it. We banned a bunch of cards. We ran the format at the Pro Tour. We banned some more cards. Now we'll see. Maybe we're going to have to ban some more. Maybe we'll unban some stuff. I don't know. We got a PTQ season coming up for that in the spring. We want to make sure that's healthy and then something people enjoy playing. So we will keep doing what's necessary to make sure that's true.
Absolutely. So tell me about the addition of Dave Humphreys. Now you've had the hump for a little while. You've had the hump with you for a little while. Tell me how you feel about having someone in that position. I think, as I understand it, you sort of created this position as a head of development. Where did that not exist before Dave came?
Well, so there's been this shift in the way R&D's put together recently. For a lot of the R&D's past, the kind of technical lead was also the personnel lead. Meaning, if you were good at making cards or developing cards, you were also put in charge of all the people that did that as well. That worked for some people, it didn't work for others that well. I personally am not a terrific people manager, I'm much more of a, so I'm fortunate to have Mark Globus as my kind of number 2 guy who handles all the process and all the people, and I get to just kind of be in charge of vision and at the same time Mark's very capable at contributing to the products. So that's a great mix. So with development, we wanted to make sure we had the right technical guy and then the right personnel guy. And the personnel guy has to be, as technical as everybody else and as good at that as them. So Eric Lauer is the kind of technical, the mad genius. His employees are the cards themselves for the most part. He's in charge of the FFL. He's the guy that kind of sculpted the Innistrad Limited environment that everyone's so excited about. Whereas Humphreys is in charge of the people and process of development. Very good developer. He led a set that the set that's coming out the next May, the third set in the Innistrad block. He put together Premium Deck Graveborn. He's done tons of other projects. He's got experience at other game companies, so bringing us all that knowledge. He's such an even keel guy. Like R&D has a bunch of volatile personalities, a bunch of crazy egos and lunatics, and all the smartest guy in the room from high school are all put together in R&D, and Dave has a great calming effect on that. So his leadership has been tremendous, and like I said, Hall of Fame player, great deck builder, and so he's got a great technical expertise too. But it allows us people to focus on different things, which is let us be a lot more successful.
That's great. So tell me about the top-down design thinking at this point. Obviously, I feel it's been incredibly successful. I was curious how you feel about what the Innistrad top-down thinking has done, and before that, I think there are other sets that has done this, but Innistrad I felt was like this perfect storm of top-down design. And how do you feel it impacts going forward in Magic R&D?
Well, we're definitely going to ramp it up from here. That doesn't mean everything we're going to attempt is going to start from a top-down premise, because there's still so much interesting gameplay stuff that we can do. And we'll end up in some places like Scars of Mirrodin, which was kind of, I won't say resonant top-down, but it was designed to try to be something that existed in Magic's past, whereas Innistrad is trying to draw on your external knowledge from all sorts of sources about horror and make it all the very familiar things to you. We can tell stories in a bunch of different ways with Magic cards. Some of them are about old Magic worlds, some of them are about familiar new worlds that people who don't play Magic might recognize. And we're going to try to mix those up a little bit more. I think Magic was a little too mechanical for a lot of years. M10 kind of, that was where I was hoping to recenter this. I really didn't anticipate it going out into the other expansions as much. I felt like, the core sets would be where here's all the resonant, recognizable stuff, and then from there we'll let people drift into like Magic world of crazy, bizarre things that we want to do to make the cards fun. But with Innistrad, Rosewater took the ball and ran with it on the top-down thing, and Brady and Jeremy and the creative team filled it out so nicely. And I feel like, wow, the reception's been so much better than I could have imagined. That like, okay, this has to be something we do a lot more of. Is get that flavor first, make cards that do things that you imagine that they would do, because Innistrad also shows that you don't have to compromise gameplay to make that all happen. You know, there was some sense that if you go flavor first, yeah, the cards will read cool and they'll look cool, but they won't play well. But that is not true at all. We can do it all. Innistrad shows we can get it all to work, and I hope to God we can do that, you know, more often.
So tell me about Premium Deck Graveboard and the future of the Premium Deck series.
The future Premium Deck series is a little bit up in the air. The first two didn't do as well as we thought. We kind of ratcheted up a little bit with Graveborn, put in some more rares, more desirable cards that people are looking for in foil. But I don't know if that's the path we want to keep going on. Like we spend a lot of equity to make that product work. You know, that's a lot of dragons and sphinxes and tombs and things that could be in a whole bunch of other products from the vaults and all this other stuff. So do we want to have to ratchet it up to that level to have it succeed? And I think we're learning what players like about foils and where they want to see foils. Like we tried the all foil Shards of Alara booster pack thing a couple years ago. That didn't go over that well either. From the vault, on the other hand, is a huge success. So there's some market for foils. It's really hard to put our finger on exactly who wants them and why and how much they're willing to go out of the way to get them. So I don't know. We haven't kind of made the final decision on where we're going with Premium Deck Series yet. We were looking to see how Graveborn did. It may keep going, it may not. I don't know. We need to kind of weigh its success against everywhere else we could be using these cards and what it does for us. But that one is certainly awesome.
Absolutely. So, considering the R&D work now, and I think it's been the recent rise of Legacy, and you're starting to see the rise of Modern, and you know you've publicly stated that you don't test for eternal formats just because you know there's only so many guys in the room, there's only so many hours in the day, and it is what it is. But have you put any thought into trying to figure it out, put in some time for Modern and Legacy and how these cards will impact them? How new cards will impact them?
I mean, it doesn't really get past the discussion level, but the discussions are happening now more than they used to. I think as we pay more attention and understand it better, especially with Modern, as we put the ban list together, like there have been cards that say, should we print this? It's going to be super stupid in Modern. It's like, oh, that's a good point. Maybe we'll change it a little bit. I mean, the truth is, for how much those formats are played compared to Standard and Limited, like Standard and Limited are gigantic parts of the business. Extended or Legacy is about this big. Extended Modern so far just aren't even on the radar. I'm trying to get Modern on the radar. But because we have the ban list and because there's just no way we're going to put the amount of effort into it to get it right compared to Standard, because it's just so much harder to get right because it's so much huger, we're willing to kind of drop some bombs in those older formats and see what happens, knowing that we're willing to ban them like Mental Misstep. I mean, who knows, you know, is Snapcaster Mage too good? No idea. Seems really powerful, but you know, I don't want anyone to think we're talking about banning it, but just like, why did you print this card? It's obviously ridiculous in older formats. It's like, well, that's okay. You know, it's okay for cards to be more ridiculous in older formats because if they get out of control, we have a safety valve for that I think everyone's used to at this point.
Right. Fair enough. All right, man. Here's the biggie. Talking about organized play.
Man, it is a crazy topic. I will say that your tweets about the death of the Pro Tour being on the horizon, there's no way that's true. There is no way that is true.
Yay.
I mean, Magic is built on history. I mean and so we like all that stuff that it does. Obviously, a lot of us came from that background. No one wants to see that go away. That said, you know, when you're like your own personal desires and the needs of the business sometimes go head to head. To work for a business, there's some problems we're trying to solve. This is certainly not a like, let's pocket the money and go buy a yacht. That's not what's going on. There's some problems in smaller markets. The fact that markets that are focused too heavily on premier play don't grow their player base. It's the same 100 guys showing up to play in nationals every year. No stores, no local play. I mean, people say the United States is working well for premier play. That's because the United States is working so well on the grassroots level. We have so many stores, so many casual players. We have to figure out how to reallocate some of our resources to get that happening elsewhere in the world, because that's where the healthy Magic community comes from. Ultimately, we want all that to culminate in you know, whatever the best celebration of that is, whether it's some kind of worlds. We want to, I would love it to get back to that point once we've built from the bottom up, but we have tried it. Premier Play is the thing that's driving those markets for years and years and years, and it's just not working. On top of that, Planeswalker points. It needs some work. The idea is very sound. I fully stand behind the fact that we switched from ELO to Planeswalker points. We're seeing, I mean, but I knew that once we did it, who knows how behavior was going to change. We just had no idea. We got people flying from England to play inside events at Worlds to get Planeswalker points. I didn't really anticipate that. We're going to have to tweak it. We're going to have to change some stuff. I don't know if the invite policy is correct. I don't know if any of this stuff is correct. That's going to take some time. Bear with us. We're trying to fix it. We don't want it to be, you know, whoever can grind the most is the best. That is not the way it should work. That's not really the goal. There will be a Pro Players Club replacement. That is also in the works. This whole thing, like OP was this giant castle, and we tore a little more of it down than I think we needed to, and that we're finding out the hard way just how complex it all is and how far-reaching it all is. It was a little ambitious, but I know I'm on the team that's, you know, putting it all back together and trying to get the information solved as quickly as possible. Very passionate people, very smart people. They love all this. They love Worlds. They love Pro Tours, Pro Players, lifestyle, in-store play, everything. But it's going to all exist. We're going to get it right. I apologize that it's going to take some time and it's a little chaotic, but our hearts are in the right place and we're going to do the right thing for Matt.